half percentage loss across 64. The board for the benchmark indexes.
Lori, look at the number settling on the Dow in particular. We're actually really starting to sell off here.
Accelerating at the close. Not a good sign heading into the Fed decision tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's give you the numbers here real quick as I can lean into my monitor. The Dow off 64. The S&P broad market's down 6 points or 0.4%. The NASDAQ creeping into positive territory earlier in the session, but it as well will close down off 6 points or about 1/4%.
And as we were just talking about, Lori and I, this is a big hour for your money, your investments. We're about to get breaking news on corporate profits coming in from Allstate. What kind of catastrophe losses are we talking there? Electronic arts, of course, video games. What are we going to hear from them? And then Adam Shapiro giving us a huge preview on DreamWorks. We're going to be curious about any news on the theme park, the deal with Paramount's going to be expiring for them. And then also it's all about the second quarter.
I want to hear about Kung Fu Panda 2.
This actually is the best earnings report for somebody with kids, and that is you, Lori Rothman. Hey, we're going to be bringing you all those numbers and instant analysis. As soon as they're coming out, we've got our laptops right here. We're waiting on them.
And you know we've been talking about this all day. It is day one of the Federal Reserve meeting. Yep. We have got a first on Fox Business interview with former Fed Vice Chairman Alan Blinder. He has his own plan to get the banks, inspire those banks to start lending again.
But first, we told you what was driving the markets earlier. We're going to tell you what drove the markets today. It is data download time. Despite ending the day in the red, stocks are posting gains for the month, believe it or not, with the Dow rising about 1%. Just consumer discretionary and energy, worst performing sectors today. Telecom, though, outperformed. 5 stocks, just 5, accounted for almost 90% of the Dow's gains this month, including widely held names. You know them: Walmart, Coca-Cola, Procter & Gamble. Now, oil, another big story today, took a big hit today following to a 2-week low. Crude declined $1.72, closing out this afternoon at 88.06 a barrel. Despite the decline, the oil did end the month up 3.6%. Also, positive news on the housing front. The S&P Case-Shiller Index rose 2.2% in May, the second straight month of gains. Year-over-year prices down 0.7%. That is the smallest fall, actually, in 18 months for that index. But all 20 cities did see an increase in prices, Lori.
Ooh, a lot of info to digest today. So let's get we've got a little help with that, rather. Larry Shover in the pits of the CME Group. Alan Lance says earnings have been below par, but he's got a few stock picks for us. And, of course, Adam Shapiro ready to break in live with today's earnings as soon as they're out. Sandra Smith will give us some perspective as well. So let's begin with you, Larry, at the CME. A lot of events still ahead this week: the ECB, the Fed, the latest unemployment read on Friday. What are you focused in on, and will it be as important as all the traders are banking on?
Well, right now, despite all the moving pieces that you just described, eco data, earnings, the Fed, nobody cares right now. All eyes in the market are on the ECB and the possible permutations thereof. We're going to wait until the ECB before the market makes its next move.
All right, I want to bring in Adam Shapiro right now, everybody. We're getting electronic arts numbers in right now for the second quarter. Adam Shapiro's looking at them right now.
Right. The loss came in at 41 cents a share. They were expecting, the street was expecting 42 cents a share. Revenue, though, not hitting what the street expected, $491 million. The street was expecting $500 million in revenue. There's one thing that investors are going to be very interested with, Cheryl, here, is that they're announcing a $500 million share repurchase program. So again, loss coming in at 41 cents per share on revenue of $491 million.
You know, I want to bring in Larry for reaction on electronic arts in particular, because a couple of things that were happening that we were looking at. Yahoo's chief financial officer, Blake Jorgensen, is a new EVP over there. So I'm wondering if that executive move is going to maybe help, because as Adam was saying, the revenue was an issue on this stock. They've been fighting the retail space. They've been fighting the online gaming space.
Oh, I'm not sure if Larry heard you.
I don't think Larry can hear. Larry, can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Hey,
yeah, I just got it.
It's loud. All right. Hey, listen, we were just looking at electronic arts numbers coming in, Larry, and a little rough for this one. There's going to be some executive changes at the company. I'm curious if you're seeing, if you can see the tape from where you're at, and to get your instant reaction on electronic arts.
Yeah, it's funny because the options market was telling a very creepy story. I mean, the options market was implying like an 11% move for the stock after the close. So that meant something was giving. And revenues did fall short, as you said. There's been a lot of turnover in the company. I mean, I think the bright sky situation for electronic arts might be digital and mobile applications, but the market doesn't believe that right now. It needs to see bigger revenue.
Alan, let's work you into the conversation here. What are your thoughts on second quarter earnings season? We're well into the reporting season. What does it mean for the broad markets overall?
Well, I think it's been disappointing so far, and the guidance has been disappointing as well. And this is the first time in a number of quarters where we've seen that. So I think it's a market where taking some profits. It was a phenomenal July. The first 4 months of the year were great. You had the sell-off in May, and a nice rebound since then. So take profits into strength, reduce risk, and there's a lot of headwinds geopolitically. Earnings front-wise, and obviously Europe, which is far from being resolved. Even if they come to terms, it's going to be a multi-year resolution process.
Okay, I want to bring back in Adam Shapiro, who's sitting by in the newsroom. We're taking a look now. We're getting the number from DreamWorks, and the stock is halted right now. Adam Shapiro, you've got them. What do we have?
Right, earnings per share came in at 15 cents. Street was expecting 25 cents. The revenue, they missed on revenue, 162 million. The Street was expecting 186 million. And here, I want you to hear what they say in their report, that Madagascar 3, Europe's Most Wanted, contributed approximately 54.8 million of revenue to the quarter, and then that was followed by also Puss in Boots, which contributed 22.8 million of revenue in the quarter. They expect, as their guidance, that these films will continue to drive revenue in the third quarter.
Lori knew that?
Because I've taken my kids to see all of these things. Sandra Smith, let's bring you in for a little more color, particularly on DreamWorks. Interesting, our second company today to report light earnings in the latest quarter. What are your thoughts? Where else was DreamWorks light? How'd they miss?
Well, I'm definitely watching these come in and definitely watching for reaction in the stock, because this is a stock that's been thriving so far this year, up about 15%. So this right now is going to be considered a big beat, but analysts really needed to be convinced by this report, because going into this report, the average analyst had a hold rating on the stock because it's done so well. So they are pointing, by the way, to everything that analysts were expecting in this report is coming to fruition about where sales were actually driven by Madagascar, et cetera, Puss in Boots. So we're going to have to continue to dig through this report for some sort of surprise here to see if investors really react. We're still waiting to see the stock to begin trading.
Yeah, I want to bring Larry Shover back from the CME. Larry, now that you can hear me, I'm going to keep you with me for a second, because overall, a lot of these corporate profits, whether it's from a DreamWorks, whether it's from a Caterpillar, whoever, I mean, it depends on global growth. I know you're very concerned about Europe. You've been watching it. You're concerned about Asia. What can earnings tell us so far at this point about the global story?
Well, we're just continuing to decelerate, and especially I look at what analysts have to say. Not that I listen to analysts, but when you have 50% of analysts saying, I rank this stock a hold, that means to me they have no idea what's going to happen. But the bigger picture is we are in a deceleration mode, something where it's going to sustain itself for quite a while right now. I think earnings will continue to drift lower and lower because it's coming at a huge cost, and that's cheap wage compensation, and our economy cannot afford to go down that path. So you're going to see...
Larry, I'm sorry to interrupt you. We have breaking news. Let's go straight to Adam Shapiro back in our newsroom, and it has to do with Twitter. What's the word?
Well, first of all, NBC's Peacock has a few feathers plucked, and Twitter's eaten some crow. It has to do with that blogger who was critical of NBC's coverage of the Olympics. They removed his Twitter account. Now they're saying, this is a quote, "We want to apologize for our part in the story that we messed up." And now the exact quote from their general counsel, quote, "We should not and cannot be in the business of proactively monitoring and flagging content, no matter who the user is, whether a business partner, celebrity, or friend." The blogger posted the public email address of someone at NBC, and that was the reasoning Twitter pulled down the account, but it was a public address. And again, they're saying we should not and cannot be in the business of proactively monitoring and flagging content, no matter who the user is, whether a business partner, celebrity, or friend. Twitter is eating crow. Back to you.
Yeah, Twitter of all people actually being accused of, limiting free speech. Dennis Neal was on that story today, Adam, and it was fascinating to talk to him about it. Let me go to Alan, because overall, Alan, I know that you believe that the market is oversold right now, but here's the thing. A lot of money, Alan, sitting on the sidelines right now. We are so concerned about what we're going to hear from the Fed tomorrow, waiting on the ECB. But that sell-off in the last 2 minutes, in particular, I saw the Dow ticking down lower, lower, lower. We closed 64 points lower, Alan. That's got to tell you there's some serious fear out there right now.
Oh, yeah, I think the market's overbought. The expectations are too high. You're seeing that in the earnings as far as, just the two after the close since when we've been talking. But it's gone through, the whole earnings season. Chipotle was disappointing. Coach yesterday was disappointing. And what's happening is the companies are very efficient. The margins are at record highs. It's a lean and mean situation. Like you said, a lot of cash. The balance sheets are strong, but you're not getting that top line growth. You're not getting the consumer in there. So, any company with high expectations, I think there's excess risk, and the market is overbought. It's rallied too much, and it's due for a pullback.
Well, I have to tell you, Alan, and also to Sandra Smith and Larry and Adam Shapiro, we had so much breaking news coming in the last 10 minutes. And guys, thanks to all of you, Alan and Larry, of course, right there on your screen. Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. Fed officials meeting today over whether or not to take additional